Kobe Bryant is going to be out about 6 weeks. Another injury. Obviously, he just came back from a torn Achilles. He missed a ton of time this year. Achilles. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, is that how I said it?
Yeah, I love that.
Let's just say Achilles?
Achilles.
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 Achilles. Kill.
Achilles.
There you go.
Achilles.
Nope.
All right, awesome. Glad we're finding this out today. He fractured basically the bone above his shin, below his knee. He's going to be out roughly 6 weeks. Out of anything, this totally makes the trade rumors of Pau Gasol, they disappear. They dissipate into thin air. They'd
already made the decision not to trade him.
Right, I understand that. But with everything that's going on with Chris Kaman and Pau Gasol, with Mike D'Antoni, and then the Kobe Bryant injury, where exactly are they going to go the rest of this year?
They were headed for an 8-game losing streak anyway. Like, this notion that they were going to somehow sneak into the playoffs ahead of Denver, you know,
not in the Eastern Conference, by the way.
Golden State and Minnesota right now aren't in the playoffs. Those are talented teams. You know, right now the pace in the West is to get in at 48 and 34 as the 8th seed. That's crazy. Yeah. They've done that before where it's been near 50 wins. I'm going to guess that's probably too high, but it's going to take 45 or 46 wins to get that 8th seed. Let's assume Phoenix, which is a big surprise, falls out of the picture, right?
Man, they have a good backcourt.
Maybe they won't. Maybe they won't.
Dragic and Bledsoe are awesome.
Great story. I hope they stay. But if they fall out, Golden State or Minnesota moves in.
Yes.
New Orleans isn't that bad. Like, New Orleans is better.
Talented.
The Lakers may be 12 and 13, but their point differential is they're minus 3.1 per game. That's the same, basically, as the Knicks and the Kings. They're bad. They've just accidentally won some games.
Good stat.
They're headed 12 and 13. They ought to be 10 and 15 or 9 and 16. They were headed to a 32-win season without Kobe. They have a 0% chance in the playoffs. They had like a 2% chance. They're not good enough.
Right.
Even if they get, like, what do you think? Well, what happens when we get Jordan Farmar and Steve Blake back? Then we're set. Fuck you. No, I mean, those are complementary players on a good team, but they don't change the dynamic of your team. And right now they're starting, you know, who's Xavier Henry?
Xavier
Henry is starting.
Yeah, you don't know how to pronounce shit.
I totally don't, but it's not a part of the body. I strained my Xavier tendon.
Yeah, it's in your groin.
So Henry and Meeks are not gonna.
No, and they're gonna play point guard. Jodie Meeks and Xavier Henry are going to play point guard for this team, while Jordan Farmar and Steve Blake are out.
Yeah, I mean, Kobe wasn't the answer at point guard either. I mean, he was getting like 6.3 assists. He was getting 6. He was at 6 turnovers a game.
13.6 points per game, 6.3 assists per game, 5.7 turnovers per game.
So I mean, those are horrible numbers for a point guard. But that said, he was working his way back, and he'd have made them better. There's no question.
Definitely.
But they weren't going to make the playoffs with Kobe in a stacked West. They'd be competitive for the 8th playoff spot, 7th or 8th playoff spot if they were in the East with Kobe, but that team's wouldn't make the playoffs in the East.
So okay, let me ask you this. When we did Bill Simmons' piece on how to fix the Lakers back in the old studio, is that what should happen? Should they just try and rebuild? Should they try and just dog it out the rest of the year? Look, he's going to miss 35 games, roughly. We think about 2 months. At least one doctor on ESPN said it this morning on 710. Should they just tank? Should they just try to get Jabari Parker, Andrew Wiggins, Aaron Gordon, Julius Randle?
Yes. No question. Like, that's the only way to do it in the NBA. But you can't. They don't, because the players won't do it. So the only way to do it would be to get rid of everybody. I guess
technically, the Suns were trying to do it.
They could give Gasol away. They could make that call. Like, they could trade
get a first-round pick.
They could trade him for an expiring contract and then release the expiring contract.
Yeah.
No, you don't even get first-round pick. Nobody's going to give you a first-round pick for that.
For Powell?
It will be lottery protected.
Go after the Isaiah Thomas GM in the NBA. You'll get a first-round pick.
Yeah, but you won't get. It'll be lottery protected at the bare minimum. He's not good. He's not a difference maker anymore. He's a good player. He's not a difference maker.
You really don't think so?
No, and it hasn't been for 2.5 years. Like, what are we talking about? He's 33.
I think Paul still has game. I mean, like, look, he's slowed down immensely. I think we could all agree on that. But he still makes a difference, especially with a team like the Lakers.
Hey, look,
if you take him off, they're going to lose another 30 games, 20 games, whatever.
Exactly the right 15. Team. He could help exactly the right team. I don't doubt that.
What team? The Knicks?
No, the Knicks are done.
Yeah, the Knicks are done.
But although, you know, again, if you're the Knicks and you have no possibility of getting a pick anytime in this century,
yes,
you obviously want to sneak into the 8th playoff spot. And the fact is the Knicks are like 1 game out of first place in the division.
Which, as you've said
which
all
gets
the time.
which gets you the 4th seed.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Which you have said repeatedly, being mediocre year after year is the worst thing you could do for your franchise.
But like different teams have different standards. The Wizards were mediocre forever, and it was terrible, and it cost them then for 10 years where they were terrible.
Yes.
So they neither strategy worked for the Wizards because they didn't draft right. This is going back to being the Bullets. Now, if you're the Wizards now, there's a value in mediocrity. If mediocrity gets you the 6th, 7th, or 8th playoff spot, because they need to make the playoffs, and these guys are all coming back next year. And the theory is, hey, what if we lose the series 4-2 and play well? Can we win it next year? And in 2 years, with the right free agent, can we go to the Eastern Conference Finals? Yeah. It's okay to be mediocre if you're headed up. But prolonged mediocrity is a disaster, and the Lakers are headed for it. I wouldn't have signed Kobe. I know that's like sacrilege.
Oh, yeah, of course not. I wouldn't either. I think any right-thinking person.
But if he's the only guy they got under contract at $24.5 million a year,
you got a little bit of wiggle room.
Then they can still add guys to that.
Sure.